Welcome back to the Tara Palmeri Show. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll notice that I am in a beautiful background right now, a gorgeous home. It's one of my friends in Washington, D.C. She is letting me stay here while I work on getting scoops. And if you subscribe to the red letter at tarapalmeri.com, where I send out my newsletter, you'll know that I had a breaking story yesterday. It's about another billionaire, Bill Gates, okay? So Donald Trump and Elon Musk are throwing missiles at each other. It's World War III on Friday. Elon Musk is accusing President Trump of being in the Epstein files, and that's why he hasn't released the files, okay? And President Trump is just like, what? And everyone doesn't know what to do because that is the third rail. He has hit the nuclear button with Epstein, right? I mean, as you saw in my last video, President Trump and Epstein were very close. And he is in the files, although there is nothing in there that actually, implicates him in a crime against these young girls. But regardless, it is awkward. It is weird. And who shows up in the West Wing, in the executive office building? Bill Gates. He was persona non grata, and he gets a meeting. Now, he didn't meet with President Trump because President Trump was at his golf course in Bedminster on Friday, and he was there later in the day. I know this from my sources inside of the West Wing. But he did get to talk to Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and he was there to argue to reverse the cuts to USAID. Of the DOGE cuts that are actually going to be codified into law, a very small percentage, just $9 billion or so. Most of it is for USAID. It's for foreign aid, mostly to Africa. And as we know, that is a topic that is near and dear to Bill Gates. In fact, he announced last week that he was going to donate $200 billion of his wealth to Africa. This is most of his wealth, by the way, because he wants to try to eradicate the AIDS epidemic, and he's very invested in education in the area.
You had some pretty strong words for Elon Musk, saying he's involved in the deaths of the world's poorest children. Do you think this withdrawal of government support is permanent?
Well, there's no doubt that the USAID payment cutoffs that Elon drove have resulted in dramatic increase in childhood death and children that would have been protected from getting HIV from their mothers during birth.
So he went there to try to convince them that now that Elon's out of the picture, maybe it's a good time to reverse some of the DOGE cuts. Wouldn't that really hurt Elon Musk after all? Isn't that the reason that Elon Musk is leaving the White House so upset because he didn't get to do what he wanted to do? He spent all that time and wasted all that energy and he didn't get his DOGE cuts. So in sweeps Bill Gates and he says, let's really drive the knife in, right?
I want to ask you about USAID and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already.
That's
I wondered.
Also,
and I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets those, and he spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy around the world over the years. My question to you is: have you looked at the data to check if he might be right that the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
Yes. I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever that is true. It's false. What we found with USAID cuts, and by the way, they haven't all been cut. The parts of USAID that were found to be even slightly useful were transferred to the State Department. So they've not been deleted. They've simply been transferred to the State Department. But many times over with USAID and other organizations, when they said, "Oh well, this is going to help, children, or it's going to help some disease eradication or something like that," and then when we ask for any evidence whatsoever, I say, "Well, please connect us with this group of children so we can talk to them and understand more about their issue." We get nothing.
Well, unfortunately for Bill Gates, he's just so toxic on the right that I don't think they could even pull it off. In fact, I'm surprised that I broke the story. I'm surprised that I knew that one of the richest men in the world just dropped in quietly and no one else in the Washington press corps knew about it. And that's because the White House didn't want you to know about it. Neither did the State Department. They didn't want it known. And that's why they delayed taking meetings with Bill Gates. So here's what I was told that Marco Rubio said, according to a West Wing insider. Let me pull it up for you so I get it precisely correct and you can hear directly from them. Rubio said to Bill Gates, the country's insolvent and we can't pay back our debts. And that's why they're keeping these DOGE cuts. But let's think about this for a second. USAID is only 0.6% of the budget. It is I don't even know if it's a drop. It's like an eighth of a drop in the bucket in terms of our overall budget. I'll tell you what a senior State Department official told me. Quote, the secretary's position on making important and necessary cuts to foreign aid has not changed. He does not believe U.S. taxpayers should be burdened with covering the costs for progressive projects abroad, including funding contraceptives, electric buses, and DEI. As the secretary has repeatedly mentioned, the future of foreign aid under the Trump administration means that we will only be funding true life-saving programs and initiatives that advance our national interests. Politico also has a new piece out by Carmen Pon. I worked with her actually at Politico Europe in Brussels. She is one of their top healthcare reporters. And she says that Democrats are accusing Marco Rubio and his staff of lying about how much they are keeping of the PEPFAR program. This is the program that specifically targets the AIDS epidemic and makes sure that these people who have HIV get these life-saving pills that stop them from developing full-blown AIDS. He has said that the program remains 85% operative, but Politico notes that he has yet to show any evidence to prove that. The Wall Street Journal's podcast has an amazing episode on PEPFAR and what they do and how these life-saving medications called PrEP, this pill has basically made HIV undetectable and has allowed people to live a normal life, and some of them never actually develop AIDS. And it's kept the lives of so many people in Africa alive. But without it, they're preparing for their deaths. And they have gone out and actually found plots to dig their own graves. It is incredibly depressing. I highly recommend that you listen to this podcast. I will have this in the description of the show so you can listen for yourself. So why are they targeting PEPFAR when it is so inexpensive to keep so many people alive? And it's just really goodwill for the American people across the world. Who's going to jump in and fill those holes in Africa where there's so much need? Maybe the Chinese, maybe the Iranians, maybe the Russians. Well, I'll tell you who created PEPFAR, and you can decide for yourself. It was Anthony Fauci, and it was under the George W. Bush administration. Who is Anthony Fauci? He is the ultimate boogeyman on the right. Is this payback? I can tell you that these pills, they cost basically nothing.
Bill Gates. One of the things that is most praiseworthy about President Bush was his support of PEPFAR.
Absolutely.
And one of the most things that was praiseworthy about President Trump, sincerely, was Operation Lightspeed, to actually get that vaccine done. Why do you think there is such an anti-science bias now?
We have some science that shows that we think we can cure HIV, so you don't even need to take the medicine. And, President Trump has a chance to get behind that and accelerate that and finally end the AIDS emergency.
If you do talk to the president, please mention to him that, he likes the people like him. People will like him for supporting the sciences and helping to cure HIV and find a, cure for things like Alzheimer's and cancer and that sort of thing. I mean, that's an easy win for him.
I want to give you a little bit more context of what's going on in the West Wing while Bill Gates is making his way through. First of all, President Trump, according to my sources, is melancholy. He's depressed. That's what one of my sources says. Do you believe that? President Trump. I mean, he's an angry guy. He likes to shout. He likes to scream. But sad? That's not a word I've ever heard used about him before. Here's what a West Wing source told me. He's very sad about it. He thought Musk was a real friend. He's been depressed. Okay. I actually called President Trump this weekend around midnight on Friday because that's the best time to call him at night. That's when he takes all his calls. In fact, after me, Gavin Newsom called him amid the riots in California. And I got to say, when President Trump answered, he didn't really sound that happy. And it wasn't just because I was calling. He had been taking calls from reporters all day long. He was down to talk, but he seemed kind of sad. And I asked to record because I wanted to get his voice on the record for you to listen rather than just be another reporter who is relaying what he said. And that was a bridge too far for him because he did not want to be recorded at night. So I'll just have to do it the good old-fashioned way, call and write it out and read it off to you. I was hoping he'd be down for a quick podcast interview next time. But yeah, my sources say he feels betrayed. And, everyone else in the administration is just so happy that Elon Musk is gone. In fact, someone said, quote, everyone else is like, good riddance, F him. Yeah. I'm told that they're not going to talk for a long time. Even though aides for Elon Musk and Donald Trump are currently talking to each other, let's not forget that Katie Miller, the wife of Stephen Miller, works for Elon Musk. And there are conversations happening about how the men can patch things up. I'm told that they're not going to talk for a long time. Elon Musk hit the nuclear button. And Trump is really upset too that Elon Musk would suggest that he was ungrateful for the donations that he made to his campaign and the party, suggesting that that was the reason that President Trump won. And I have a controversial take on this, and I don't really think the money mattered that much, especially because I know how poorly it was used, how the ground operation was a complete mess. And if there's one thing we know about President Trump, he's often outspent and he still wins. And look at Ron DeSantis. He had $200 million behind him, one of the most expensive campaigns ever spent in a primary. He didn't even make it past Iowa. Kamala Harris, they spent $1 billion or more, and she still lost overwhelmingly. So I don't know. I'm not the biggest believer that money is everything in politics. I still think you need a candidate. Maybe Elon Musk is taking a little bit too much credit, but he really crossed the line with this one. And I think it's really interesting that Elon Musk weaponized something that President Trump has been using for so long. Jeffrey Epstein's client list. President Trump had accused the Clintons of being on the client list. President Trump would constantly dangle the idea that someone was on the client list as a way to vilify that person, to sort of slander them. And then it got used on him. And for the record, we all know that President Trump is in fact in the files. He's in Jeffrey Epstein's book 14 times, but that is not the same thing as being a John Doe. In fact, Julie K. Brown, who reopened the case against Jeffrey Epstein, it led to the 2019 indictment. She makes it very clear that this John Doe client list does not exist. I have investigated this for many years. I worked on a podcast with her, Broken Jeffrey Epstein, and it just doesn't exist. As she said, quote, it's a figment of the internet's imagination and a means to just slander people. And why do you think Donald Trump let Bill Gates on White House grounds? He probably wanted to get back to Elon Musk. After all, Bill Gates is his prime nemesis. And how do you hurt a lover? By showing up with another one. So this one just gets real messy. Stick around for the ride. It is a weird one in Washington, D.C., and it twists and it turns. And it sounds like Elon Musk already wants to get back into President Trump's arms, retweeting his truths. I mean, we're seeing a lot of weird stuff. He's groveling. Yeah, Elon Musk, too, has already deleted so many of the tweets attacking President Trump. Like, he appears to have already deleted the Epstein tweet. Let's face this. Elon Musk has terrible political instincts. He was a Democrat for a while, then he decided to get behind Ron DeSantis, and then President Trump after the Butler shooting. Now, YouGov did a poll to ask, who would you get behind in this fight, right? So 28% of respondents said Donald Trump, 8% said Elon Musk. Now, 52% obviously said neither. They're probably like, this is absurd. I don't want to get behind either of these men in their cat fight. But who do you get behind? Leave your answer in the comments. Message me Reach out to me, Tara at tarapalmeri.com. I wonder what you think is next for Elon Musk. We know that Andrew Yang, who will be on this show, and I will be on his show as well, he is trying to lure Elon Musk into his forward party to try to back it and ask him all about it. So hang on, follow the show, share it, rate it, subscribe it, tell all your friends about it. We get all the newsmakers on and break all of the stories. And I want to thank my producer, Eric Abinante, for getting this out very quickly, riding those news waves.